Hey folks, just Pat B here again. This is my second video tonight. This will be the last one of the night for me. This isn't a gig story per se. Um, I do still have some other stories to add, um, which I'll keep doing over the next few days. But also thinking of kind of other topics to discuss and just thinking about, questions I've been asked over the years about, playing and my career and stuff like that. And just, people asking curiosity questions, that kind of a thing. I know one of the things that I've been asked by a handful of people, uh, over the past little while was about endorsements. Um, and I have four of them and four companies that I'm involved with endorsing. And, endorsements are a nice thing to have. They don't define you as a player or anything like that. Because these are businesses and they are looking from their business standpoint. And I'll explain how things went down for me, and hopefully it'll make more sense about what I just said as I'm discussing these things. Um, and also too, in my situation, um, yeah, I've played in various parts of the world, but I'm not a household name on the world stage. I'm hoping that's changing slightly, a little bit here and there, but anyway, most of the endorsement stuff that I'm involved with is regionally based. Like Western Canada, Canada itself, that kind of a thing. I mean, for example, I endorse for Yamaha, and before that. I endorsed for Julius Kalworth saxes made in Germany. Wonderful horns, by the way. Um, but each of these companies has pretty high profile musicians on their roster as well. So, for example, when I was with Kalworth, that was from about 1996 to 2002, because I joined Yamaha in 2002. Yeah. So I was with Julius Kalworth for about 6 years, and they had people on the roster like James Moody, Dave Liebman. One of their main, I call them poster guys, poster boys, poster guys, whatever, higher profile guys, was Ernie Watts, who's still with them. So a guy like Ernie Watts, it's competing with somebody who's with that kind of experience, that kind of track record, and that kind of player. I mean, it's not. He's going to be their main focus or one of their main focus artists, But I mean, for someone who's more for the country of Canada and regionally or nationally based, like myself or whatever. I mean, it's still nice to have that. Kind of gives you a little bit of extra street cred, I suppose. But the main thing too is for me is that the fact that these companies have chosen me or have brought me on board says a lot. I mean, that means a lot to me because they're taking the chance on me to be a representative of their brand, and that's pretty cool. So I am eternally grateful to these companies for having the faith in me to be able to, be part of what they do and be part of their family, I guess, for lack of a better term. But I'll just go through how all of this stuff came together for me, because I know that there's no real way for things to happen. They just kind of fall into place, or they, whatever happens, it happens in its own way, right? So the first endorsement I got, like I was saying, was with Julius Kalworth saxes. And what happened was I was in a band that I spoke about previously, the Wednesday Night Big Band, was chosen to at a festival here to back up the adjudicators that were here. The adjudicators at the time were a gentleman who was at the head of the jazz department at McGill. He's now at University of Toronto, I believe. Gordon Foote was here as a clinician. Also, somebody who has been dubbed the godfather of jazz in Canada. Sweet, sweet guy. He's 96 or something now, plays clarinet, is Phil Nimmons was also here. He was a Yamaha artist. And also there was a trumpeter, another great guy to hang out with. Uh, Good jokes and just a great guy to hang with, and wonderful trumpet player. Jeff Jarvis, who's in charge of the jazz department at the University of California, Long Beach. Or pardon me, Cal State Long Beach, I guess it is, California State Long Beach. So Jeff was with Besson Brass at the time. He's with a different company now, and I can't remember which one it was, but anyway. So the representative, Besson Brass was one company that was under a big umbrella of, it was Boozy and Hawks was the huge parent company, and there was all these smaller companies underneath. Julius Calworth was one of them. And we finished this concert backing up these adjudicators, and I remember putting my horn away, and I got a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and there's a really sweet, relatively short Jewish guy by the name of Glenn Libman from Winnipeg. Introduces himself, gives me his card, and he said, "Hi, Pat, my name's Glenn Libman. I'm with Boozy and Hawks, and we're expanding our brand into Western Canada, and one of the brands of saxes that we have under our umbrella is Julius Calworth from Germany. And I'd like to maybe send some horns down to Calgary for you to try." And I went, "Sure, okay." He said, "All right, well, I will send them to," at the time it was National Music, that doesn't exist here anymore. He says, "I'll send them to National Music, and I'd like you to try them, and I'll get back to you in a couple weeks. I'll be through town again in a few weeks, and we can discuss what you think of them," and so on and so forth. So I said, "Okay, sure." So I get a call from National, I don't know, 4 or 5 days later, that there were 2 or 3 horns that have come in, and would I like to come down and pick them up to take them to try? So I did that. I found one of them that I liked more than the other 2, and I pulled out Glenn's card, and I contacted him, and I said, "I've got a horn that I've been playing that is kind of grown on me. Over the last few days, it's feeling pretty good." So he said, "Okay, that's great. I'm going to be in town in about 10 days, and we'll go for lunch and all that and blah, blah, blah. So you can tell me what you think." So that time comes along, and Glenn shows up in town, and I go out for lunch with him, and I'm giving him the rundown about what I like about the horn. And at the time, I'm playing a 1954 Mark VI, Selmer Mark VI, which I ended up selling. And I know some of you are going to go, "What, are you nuts?" Yeah. No, I wasn't nuts. I'll get onto the Mark VI hype on another video. The stuff I see is pure insanity with that, but you know where I'm coming with that. Oh, I know you do. Some of you have seen my posts about the Mark VI overinflated hype, blah, blah. Beautiful horns, don't get me wrong, but for what they're going for now, it's insanity. Different story on a different day, though. So as I tell Glenn what I'm liking and all that stuff, when I get to the end of that, he says, "Oh, that's great." He says, "Well, how would you feel about endorsing it for the company?" I went, "Really?" I said, "Okay, sure. Yeah. I mean, the more I play it, the more it's growing on me. So why not? Absolutely." Ow. Sorry about that. So he says, "Okay, that's great." So I said, "Well, I'll take the other 2 back to the music store, and they can put them into stock or whatever." And he says, "Okay." So the agreement I had with them was that whatever horn or horns that I ended up getting, they would give to me, and then I would work them off by doing, master classes, adjudication. They'd basically put me to work on behalf of the company. So that's how that worked with them. And I was with them for, like I say, about 6 years. Now, 6 years later, and I had a great relationship with them, and I didn't leave Calworth to join Yamaha because, I had a rift with the company or the product started to suck or anything like that. It wasn't like that at all. What happened was, right in the early 2000s, a group of German businessmen decided to, this is from what I understand, they relocated the Boozy and Hawks North American office from Libertyville, Illinois, which was just north of Chicago, to Sun Valley, California. And they wrote off about $26 million worth of inventory and moved all the operations out there. And all these companies that were underneath the Boozy and Hawks umbrella started to be sold off company by company. And so this whole corporate shakeup was happening. And I remember that when the new promo came out for the next year, there was one Canadian saxophonist on the Calworth roster, and that was Alex Dean in Toronto. And the other Calworth person in Alberta along with me was Kent Sangster in Edmonton. And I phoned Kent and I said, Kent, any idea what's going on? Have you heard anything? And he said, I have absolutely no idea what's going on. I'm not hearing anything. And my rep at the time, Glenn, stepped aside and Willie Connell came in. And I've known Willie since the mid 80s. He used to work at National Music here in Calgary and was worked with Yamaha for quite a while. And then he became the rep of all of Canada for Boozy and Hawks. And then all this stuff started to happen. He didn't know what was happening with him. He was subsequently let go. And there was this whole corporate shakeup. And then I said to Kent, what do you think you're going to do? He said, I'm just going to keep the horns I have and play my gigs, and that'll be that. And I thought, that's probably just the best thing. So that's what I decided to do too. Not long after that, though, when Yamaha came out with the Custom Z line of saxophone, PJ Perry and Campbell Riga were doing a demo up at the University of Calgary here. So I decided to go up just to see what was going on and just find out more about the instrument, because I was curious to see what Yamaha's new design was going to be like and all that. So when I got there, Campbell wasn't there. He had to go back to Vancouver. But PJ Perry, who's another iconic sax player in this area of the world and in Canada completely, Juno winner, wonderful, wonderful player, and Campbell too. And yeah, a guy like Campbell, and PJ too, so hard to get along with. Not some great jokes, and listening to those guys they're just fantastic players. But anyway, so PJ's doing this workshop or demo thing, talking about the horn. And I remember I had a question, so I put up my hand, and PJ saw me and he said hi to me and mentioned my name and everything. And I had a question. When he mentioned my name at the right side of and I remember this, I was on an aisle seat, and I crossed the aisle. As soon as my name was mentioned, the guy across the aisle from me, I could see up the corner of my eye, turned and looked at me. It was he was vibing me out a little bit. It was kind of creepy. But so I asked my question, and then I think, a few more questions happened. I think probably 10 or 15 minutes later, the whole thing was finished. And I got up out of my seat and I turned to go up the aisleway back out of the theater we were in, the Rosa Center. And as I'm walking into the aisle, the fellow from across the aisle comes over to me and says, "Hi, Pat." And he shook my hand. I said, "Hi." And he goes, "My name's Howard Anderson. I'm with Yamaha. I'm the Western Canada rep for Yamaha. And I wanted to talk to you about having some horns sent to you, some Custom Z horns sent to you for you to try." And I went, okay. Didn't see that coming. So, all right. Yeah, that's fine. So and it was this almost like the same thing that happened with Glenn Lindman. I'll send some horns down to St. John's Music for you to pick up and to try. So I went, okay, great. He said, and next time I'm in town, I'll let you know when I'm coming, and we'll again go do lunch, and you can tell me what you think of the horn. I'm like, great, okay, sure. So I was a little bit curious about this. So I had a buddy who was a great friend of mine, Greg Pryor, who was a bass player. Used to live in Calgary, lives in Waterloo, Ontario now, who was working for St. John's here at the time. And I said, Greg, I'm kind of curious about this. I've got the Yamaha guy asking me to play some of their horns. And theoretically, I'm still with Calworth, so I'm playing the competition, even though it hasn't been said to me that I've been officially let go. But so, because nobody's saying anything. So he said, I'll see if I can find out anything. I'll just maybe ask around here and there. And I said, I would appreciate that. So probably 3 or 4 days later, Greg gets back to me and says, "Oh, I found out what's going on with that. That Yamaha knows that a bunch of the Calworth guys have been let go." Of course, I didn't know that because nobody said anything. I didn't know we were let go. So Yamaha wants to lure some of you guys over. I went, okay. Well, lure, I don't know if that's the right word, but, talk to you guys about maybe coming and joining Yamaha. So that's essentially what happened. And I I found a horn that I liked. And the thing with me, and I think that it should be this way for anybody, I was willing to endorse the horn based on the fact that I would find one that I liked. And if I didn't like it, I wasn't going to endorse it, because I'm not going to put my name on something that I can't stand behind. So, I know of people who've done that in the past, and it really doesn't shed a good light on them. And I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. So I need to be 100% sure that I'm good with this brand. And I've been with them since 2002, and I still am. And yeah, the 82Z design is fantastic. I love it. So yeah. And interestingly enough, the rep, when all the smoke cleared with Kyle Worth and Boozy and Hawks, the rep who was, he was a representative for Coast Music, a distributor, but kind of a spokesperson or whatever, figurehead for person that dealt with the artists for, like Kyle Worth, for example, called me up not long after I joined Yamaha and asked me if I would come back and continue on with Kyle Worth. And I said, I'm good. I'm with Yamaha now, and I found a horn I like, and I just want to stay put. I don't want to be, jumping back and forth between companies like that. So that's how I ended up being with Yamaha. And the next one for me was the mouthpiece I play, which was, let's see if I have a, where is it? Oh, here we go. Theowane. Seriously, and yeah, I know I'm part of the company and all that, but seriously, the freest blowing mother mouthpieces I've ever played. Quite honestly, they're not cheap. I'll give you that. But you know what? You do get what you pay for. And I know I sound like a public service announcement, but I'm not trying to come across that way. Those are badass mouthpieces, I'm telling you. And I have no problem telling you that. So a friend of mine who I went to university with, a good friend, colleague, Brian Vance, who was a University of Calgary student here, ended up working for Theowane. And another saxophonist here in town, in Calgary, John Rogensack, was representing or endorsing for Theowane. And I asked him one time at a rehearsal we were both at, I said, John, what are these Theowane things? Fill me in on this stuff. And he said, why don't you contact Brian Vance and have him send you some mouthpieces? So Brian sent me 2 tenor mouthpieces, the Durga models. I'm notorious, and I don't know why, but this is the way I am. I'm notorious for playing very open mouthpieces. This is Sax Geek Talk, guys, by the way. Open mouthpieces and hard reeds. So I asked Brian if he can send me a Durga metal mouthpiece. The one I have here, I'll just show you. The one I have here is a Shiva. So it's the brightest out of all the mouthpieces that they make. The Durga is the second brightest. So I asked Brian if he can send me a Durga 9 and a Durga 10. That's pretty open. And I'm playing number 4 reeds. So yeah, I'm really working hard when I play. So Brian sends me both those mouthpieces. I decided that I would play the Durga 10 first. I think I played it for about, this is not a word of a lie either, probably 3 or 4 minutes. I put my horn down, I picked up my phone, I phoned him and I said, okay, let's talk. I want to buy this. Seriously. That's all it took me. I put that thing through as many ringers as I could in 3 to 5 minutes. Pushed the envelope on that mouthpiece as much as I could, and it responded in the best way possible every time. So I just said, this is... And then he said to me, we, on the roster right now, we have a lot of R&B and rock and pop players and stuff like that. I'd like to get some more mainstream jazzers playing and that kind of a thing. And how would you like to... We should talk about you endorsing for being another one along with John Rogensack in Calgary and Southern Alberta and stuff. And I said, well, sure, if you want to, absolutely, I'd totally do that. So that's how the second one came about. Again, it's somebody that I knew, and he trusted me to be a good representative for the company, and I am grateful to him and to Theo and all the guys, Matt Ambrose and all the guys at Theo for being so cool and welcoming me as they have. Um, the other one that I kind of fell into was when I was working at St. John's Music as an employee. The manager there of the store here in Calgary, Greg Fisher, I was doing some work on computer, and he brought a sheet over to me, which was an email he printed off from a lady in Markham, Ontario that works for Counterpoint Music Services, Kathleen Stockholm, asking about BG, the music accessory company based in Lyon, France, was looking to get some Canadian artists. And I had been using BG products for a number of years before this. And he put that on the keyboard in front of me, and he said, if you know of anybody, you should maybe contact them and let them know. And I said, wait, yeah, I know somebody. Me. So anyway, I contacted Kathleen Stockholm in Markham, Ontario, Counterpoint Music Services. And I said, Kathleen, I would love to be a BG guy, because I'm involved with them now. There's the neck strap I use. I know sax players, you've seen these logos, that logo before, right? That's my neck and mouthpiece pouch, right? As you saw on my mouthpiece, there we go. There's my ligature with the BG logo. Yeah, BG has a lot of great products, and Frank Bijan, who's the CEO and owner, is a great guy, and I'm really happy to be involved with those guys. They're wonderful, and Juan Garillo, I guess is his last name. He's based in Madrid, Spain, and Frank is based in Lyon. Two great guys, and I really enjoy the stuff that they've given me to use, and I will continue to use it. I'm very happy with. Oh, sorry, that's my computer. So the very last endorsement I got was my reed endorsement with Marca, a company based in southern France, basically along the Riviera, and they're the third largest, from what I understand, the third largest reed company on the planet, and have been around since 1957. No, can't see that. There we go. So there's my alto reeds. Yeah. Cane of Var, right? That's the Var region of France. And they were looking for artists in Canada. I happened to read that. And guess where? On Facebook. So I contacted them. And I spoke the other night about a guy that I toured with named Charles McNeil, wonderful saxophonist from Las Vegas. Charles ended up getting approached by Marca. And I contacted him and picked his brain a little bit about it. And I said to him that they were looking for artists in Canada. So I decided to contact them and Nicholas Rigi, who's the CEO. And I contacted Nicholas and I asked him about if he could send me some reeds to try. And he did. He was very, very accommodating, very good. And I worked with him for a bit. And, because every time you incorporate something new into what you do, you need to take a bit of time and just get used to it. So these reeds were no different. And that's what I was doing. And I did find, because there's a whole bunch of different brands and branches and stuff that, like he's got a bunch of different brands of reed and lines of reed and, classical jazz and, different kinds of cane and all that stuff. So I spent some time going through the different types of reeds and see what would work for me. And I ended up finding the ones that I really like. And I told him, I said, I'm really able to make these reeds work. So, I mean, if you're willing to, I'm willing to work with you if you're willing to work with me, basically. So I ended up signing a contract with Marca, and now I endorse for them. And little, here we go. This is made by, I don't endorse for this company, but there's a really cool company out of Seville, Spain called Paez Music. They made that for me. That was pretty cool. But anyway, yeah. So you know, having these endorsements is really cool. Like I said, for street cred, but also too that it's nice that these companies put their faith in me to be a representative for them. All four of these companies, I love their products. So when I speak about them, it comes from the right place and a good place. I'm not doing it just because I needed an endorsement and I want to have my face on somebody's poster or whatever. It's not about that. So, I was most of this happened and I didn't even know it was going to happen. You know how they say sometimes when you're looking for a member of the opposite sex and you hear that old philosophical saying, when you least expect it, expect it. It was kind of like that for me with these. I didn't even see these coming. These kind of fell into my lap or I was approached. And I think the key to this is try to be um, as good as you possibly can on your instrument and as prominent a fixture as you can within your corner of the universe, kind of thing, in your area. And just be somebody who would be, I guess, well, qualified, I guess, wasn't the word I was looking for, but somebody who would easily be considered to align themselves with companies like this. And I wasn't even considering any of these. Like I said, they just kind of fell in my lap. I was tickled that people were considering me to do these things. It's very cool that I was the beneficiary of these. And you know, anything that I get, the other thing you have to understand is anything I get from these companies is not free. I mean, although I have been sent some samples and prototypes of neck straps and things like that for me to try and work with, and that kind of a thing. And I don't expect a free ride from anybody. Maybe if like with Calworth, for example, maybe Ernie Watts can go over to the factory just south of Frankfurt, Calworth factory in Germany, and hand pick his instrument. I'm not in a position to do that, but I'm happy to be involved, very happy to be involved with these companies. And I want to give a shout out to all of them. And this is why I'm bringing this up. The other thing I was thinking about this is I attend the NAM show quite often. The NAM show is a National Association of Music Merchandisers. It's a massive, massive, massive music trade show held at the Anaheim Convention Center every January. And I don't know how many people attended this year. I didn't attend last year, but the year before I attended, I think there were 99,000 people that attended. So it's no tiny little small event. It's significant, and you will see people. First year I went in 1999 at the LA Convention Center because they were refurnishing or renovating the Anaheim Convention Center. I remember coming into the convention center from the parkade and parking lot area into an elevator. And I remember getting on the elevator and hearing somebody say, can you hold the elevator, please? And we did. And then this person came walking right on, straight at me, walked on. He had a name tag on. It said Steve Porcaro. And if you're not sure who Steve Porcaro is, he was the keyboardist for Toto. And later during that time I was there, I walked right by Prince and Sheila E., George Clinton, the lead singer for the Fine Young Cannibals. People like that, you see those people there. It's not unheard of. And Michael Jackson has showed up. Actually, not this past year, but the year before I was there, Stevie Wonder showed up. I didn't see him, unfortunately, because it's such a big place. You never know who you're going to run into at whatever time. But I see a lot of people that go there and are trying instruments, and I think a lot of people go to a place like that thinking they're going to score an endorsement. I'll go up to the booth and I'll start playing and I'll try to, put on my mofo hat and I'll be so good that they're going to choose me to endorse for them. What I find with my companies, the endorsement is not just about how well you play, but it's also like I take Yamaha, for example. It's also about how well you can be a representative for the brand. And also, they're very big into music education. So you also have to have teaching chops to be able to talk about the instrument in an educational way and playing in an educational way. And if you don't take kindly to standing up in front of people and public speaking, Houston, we have a problem, right? And there are a lot of guys who are wonderful players, but they're not great educators, even though that they know very, very well, um, how to work their instrument or how they're wonderful musicians. So there's other criteria than just being a great player that goes into stuff like this. And I think that that's something that needs to be kept in mind when it comes to this stuff. Um, so those are the ways of the four companies that I represent, or that I am a spokesperson for, whatever, endorsing artist for. Um, that's kind of how it worked for me. And I think that, again, too, um, you like me as a saxophone player was looking at all the sizing things up and thinking, well, how is it going to benefit me to be an endorsing artist for this company? But you can bet at the same time the company's going, well, how is it going to benefit us to have this guy on our roster? And I think that's where you have to take into consideration that it's important for you to be a great player and to be in a position where you can talk about the products, but also you have to be, um, especially like I say in the case of Yamaha, for example, that's the main one that I'm thinking about, but also for Theoane, and that you want to be somebody who is a good teacher, somebody who has no problem speaking about the product, and um, somebody who can get their point across as best as possible. So, like I say, if you have a problem with speaking publicly, then that's a bit of a problem. So it's not just about your playing; it's about you as a person, and you know, overall how good of a spokesperson you can be for the product. So that's kind of my take on the endorsement thing. I'm tickled to have these four endorsements. It's awesome. And there's also a fifth one that I haven't really mentioned. I'm not even sure if I'm part of their roster yet or not, but I have been put on one of their posters, so maybe. Is the wireless mic I play, which is SD Systems based in Amsterdam. Serge Schreier, who is also is involved with Theoane mouthpieces as well. That wireless mic is fantastic, and I remember the first time I played it, the sound man at a club here in town called the Ironwood, JT is his name, John Telgan. Basically plugged my mic in and said, I don't even have to EQ this thing. This is perfect. He says, I just plug it in and move the fader. That's it. And I said, well, these things are tailor-made for horns, so that's the whole thing behind them. So that's another kick-ass product. I hope that Serge has added me to his roster. I'm not 100% sure if I have been. I was on one of his posters recently, but so it very well be that I am. I'm not sure, but I would have no problem endorsing SD System instrument microphones either. They're fantastic. SD Systems based out of Amsterdam. So anyway, so that might be my fifth one. I don't even know yet. I haven't signed any paperwork or anything, but so yeah, I don't know if my God, this has been a 35-minute video. Holy crap! I hope you guys are still awake. Hello, are you still awake? Hello. I hope nobody's bored, senseless at this point. But anyway, I'm going to shut up now. So anyway, if you have any other questions about stuff like that, aspects of this that I haven't covered, let me know. I'm going to post my email address down below, and send me a message, and I'll get back to you. Or if you have a question about it, whatever, I will post another video. and talk about what it is that you're asking me. If not, that's cool. It's all good. So there'll be more videos to come, gig stories and other assorted other gack that I come up with. So hope you all are doing well, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye now.